Good morning, everyone. Good morning. It is February 9th, Sunday, the 9th day of 4:44 a.m.s with Michelle. So glad you guys came and joined me this morning. I'm excited to talk a little bit more about nutrition today. We started yesterday talking about the fourth of the 5 components of the foundational skills of COR5FIT, which is our God time. We're trying to get 30 minutes in a day. The next one is water, trying to drink half your body weight in ounces per day. The next one was sleep, working on that 7 to 9 hour range a night. And then nutrition, which was really starting to track and understand what was going into our bodies so that we can really see what needs to change or what we need to do in order to fix it. It's really hard to find out if we need more calories in our day or less calories, or more protein or less protein, if we're not sure exactly even what is coming into our bodies. So we're going to continue on nutrition today, and we're going to talk a little bit about portions and servings. But I wanted to start with some of the thoughts behind food biblically. Yesterday, we talked about Adam and Eve and the apple in the Garden of Eden. And today we're going to talk about the Israelites after they'd left Egypt and were in the wilderness. They were wandering around in the wilderness after just leaving Egypt from an oppressive slavery situation. So they had their freedom, but now they were working on, okay, well, what do we do with that? So the biggest part of it is really God provided for them. God provided food for them. So the story is in Exodus 16, and essentially they've come out of Egypt and now they're wandering around in the wilderness, and they're starting to grumble because they don't have the things that they think they need. So I'm going to read really quick from Exodus 16, 3 and 4. And it says, "The Israelites said to them, 'If only we had died by the Lord's hand in Egypt. There we sat around with pots of meat and ate all the food we wanted. But you have brought us into this desert to starve this entire assembly to death.' And then the Lord said to Moses, 'I will rain down bread from heaven for you, and the people are to go out and gather each day and gather enough for that day.'" So I think of our perception versus reality when I read this. Being a slave, I highly doubt that the Israelites just had a banquet table where they could go up and pick whatever they wanted to eat with, the best courses of meats and foods and vegetables. But the delusion of having nothing and looking back on that time was, well, now we don't even have things. We might as well just go back. We're going to starve to death. And I wonder how often we look back and think of the things we had from a food standpoint, from a different thing, and say, well, I used to be able to eat that. I used to be able to do this. Was it really true? Or is some of that a little bit of delusion of just looking back and thinking things were better than they are? It kind of goes back into that negativity a little bit that we talked about too the first day. If we go back and we think about those things, are we really being positive for our now and for our future? So some things may have to change, and that's okay. But it really shows here that we have the things that we need. God will provide them. And in terms of food, it's funny because if you now go to Numbers 11, 4 through 6, it talks about the Israelites bringing it up again. They're tired of what they have. They're tired of the manna that the Lord's provided, and now they're asking for more again. And it really makes me think of the things that we do and the things that we want more of because we get used to what we have. So that's a little bit about the perception of delusion, looking back at our past and seeing what we have, but really now focusing on the wanting more aspect and the attitude and the habit that comes with that. The next thing I want to talk to you guys about is portions and servings. So if we're going to start tracking what we're eating every day, then it is really important to understand exactly what we are tracking. To start out just saying, hey, I ate this at this time, that's better than where we were before to get it down. But what we eventually need to get to is to understand the true portion or the true size of the things that we're eating in order to calculate it correctly. Not a huge fan of math, but you saw in the water day, we had to do water at 4:44 a.m. Over the next couple of days, we're going to have to do some more math to try and figure out what we're eating from a standpoint of our calories and our grams of protein. And you'll see why I think that those are so important. So I want to try and show you a picture really quick. I'm going to do a screen share. We're going to see this really quick. So now what I want to show you is this. So this is really portions versus servings. If we think about 20 years ago, the way that people looked in the 70s, the way that they were, we kind of see the big difference here. If we look at just the cheeseburger up on the top, 20 years ago, a cheeseburger was about 330 calories. Today, you're looking at not quite double, but almost double that, and a lot of the times even more. And that's just your basic cheeseburger without a whole bunch of stuff on it. You look at our fry portions, same thing. They've almost tripled since 20 years ago. The pastas, when we go out to eat, there's a great story I love to tell. There's a gentleman who was not able to really change the way that he lived. He was a single man who lived by himself. He worked a job that required him to go out to eat for a lot of different meals. He had morning meetings at Starbucks, lunch with sales consultants, and then dinners he had to go out and entertain clients. And so his lifestyle was very different than that of a normal person, going back to uniqueness. So what he chose to do, he realized he needed to start losing weight. So one of the things that he implemented when he went out to eat, because that was his lifestyle, he started, as soon as something got delivered to the table, he would ask for a box. And he literally cut everything in his plate in half and then put that other half in the box. And if he knew he was going to eat it later, he would take it home. If not, he would find a homeless person to give it to, or it would just end up in the trash. But what it did was it helped him to start looking at his portions and understanding what he was eating and cutting what the world was giving him in half. He ended up losing over 70 pounds in a year, and super proud of just him adapting to the lifestyle that he had in order to gain what he wanted. His choice was he couldn't stop doing what he was doing, but he could make the choice of how he was doing it. So that's one of my favorite stories of portions and what we think about. So next time you go out to eat, maybe it is just cutting it in half, putting it in a box and taking it home for another day. Or maybe it's sharing it with somebody else that you go out to eat with. So just think about that. The last one is our cookies. You can see how big they are. As we talk about servings and the different things that we have, the next thing I wanted to kind of go through with you guys is how to start doing that. So the first way, and the way that I recommend the most, is to buy yourself a food scale. So here is my food scale. And it really helps in terms of truly understanding measurements and how much you're eating. If you're looking at ounces, you can change it to ounces. If you're looking at the back of a box and a nutrition label and it's in grams, you can change it to grams. Another way to do it is to use measuring cups and table and teaspoons. Those are as accurate too. Weight is more accurate. If you start to look at, if you put like a cup on the scale and fill it when it says a cup, you'll notice that it is a higher gram weight than what it is, but it's still super convenient and accurate versus carrying a scale around in your pocket. The third way that I want to talk to you guys about today is, especially if you go out to eat or you're at somebody else's house, it's not like you can just grab the food and whip out your scale out of your purse and lay it down and say, I'm going to weigh my food, because that gets a little awkward and weird. So instead, you can kind of use your hand. And so if you think about, the weight that you are and the size that you are compared to somebody else, your hand is unique to you. So it makes it really accurate. So the first one, and the one that I think is the most important, is our proteins. So if you look at like the palm of your hand right here, that is about 3 or 4 ounces. So when you think of like a chicken breast or a piece of fish that you can get, that right there is going to be about 3 to 4 ounces of protein. The next one is a fist. So if you look at like the size of your fist, that's essentially your carbs, how many carbs you should be getting in a serving. And that's normally around 1 cup. So that's your carbs. The next one is your thumb. If you think about your thumb and the length of your thumb from here to here, that is about 2 tablespoons. So when you think of peanut butter or you think of cheese, that's a good one to say this is about 2 tablespoons or a serving of cheese or peanut butter. The next one is your fingertip. So if you look at the little crick, this right here is about the size of a teaspoon. And so that's really your butters, your oils, things like that that help you measure that. Your cupped hand. So if you kind of like cup your hand, the little section right in here is your, I like to call them the snacks, your nuts and your different things. They kind of help those little snacks. That's about half a cup. And then the last one is your salads. Think of like cupping your hands together. That would be about 2 cups. That's about what you would do for salad. So that should be able to help you start tracking a little bit more. If you don't have a scale, I highly recommend going and getting one. There's a bunch to choose from, but it helps. And I'll add a link to this one for the one that I like from Amazon. So your action items, continue to track, get more accurate with that tracking. Find out, even if you're using your hand measurements, it'll help you start to really look at how much you're being served and how much you're eating. The next thing is subscribe, so you know that when I'll go live again and if I make any additional posts. And also share what you think of this with other people. If they need help looking at portions and servings, this is a great way to get them started thinking about it a little bit differently. Lastly, if you guys will leave me a comment and let me know what you like, or if there's anything else that you guys want to hear about, that would be wonderful. And I will see you guys tomorrow. Bye.